Hello and welcome to What Are You Listening To? The show where we talk about good music, or at least music that we think is good. I'm your host, Dan. Today we're going to take a drive and talk about Need to Breathe. So Need to Breathe just released a new studio record called Out of Body. Right around the time they announced this, they also announced that longtime guitar player and founding member, Bo Rinheart, would be leaving the band. Bo and Bear Rinheart are two brothers that started the band together. Both Bo and Bear do most of the writing. So far from checking out this new record is 100% Need to Breathe gold. How I first discovered Need to Breathe? Well, I first discovered them back in the early 2000s when my friend Mike gave me their first CD and told me to check them out. Pretty sure I still never gave that CD back. So sorry, Mike. My first thoughts were this was a great rock record and they have one heck of a lead vocalist. If you didn't know, Bear Rinheart can sing. This guy has got a set of pipes that's unbelievable. Bear's primary instrument is piano, but in Need to Breathe you'll mostly see him play electric and acoustic guitar. Whatever he picks up, he knows what he's doing. He's got impressive skills on any instrument he's played. I rediscovered him a few years later when I met my friend Ben. Right around this time they had just released their record called The Reckoning. Ben had gave me a couple songs to listen to and asked if I could learn how to play some of them. After diving into the record, The Reckoning, I was completely hooked. The sounds, the fury, the message, the passion, these guys were a solid band. They had shown growth from the previous record, and this record was 100% solid. So Ben had me learn two songs from The Reckoning. One was Keep Your Eyes Open, and the other one was Slumber. Keep Your Eyes Open showed that they could just have this polished grit but still be a raw rock and roll band. And then Slumber was kind of showing me their folky acoustic side. These guys have some pretty deep country roots. Coming from South Carolina, that kind of southern gospel stuff really shines through. After that record I went backwards and discovered the Outsiders record. On that record they had one of their most popular songs titled Stones Under Rushing Water. That song featured Sarah Watkins of Nickel Creek. If you've never heard of Nickel Creek, do yourself a favor and go put on the record Why Should the Fire Die? There'll be more on that later. So after this, Need to Breathe was becoming one of my all-time favorite bands. I was more than blown away at just these couple records I was listening to. Right after The Reckoning, they released Rivers in the Wasteland. This record is gold. The record has so many layers. After they had toured very hard for the record The Reckoning, the dynamic of the band was threatened. The two brothers were fighting. They weren't on speaking terms for a while. I believe it was something like 6 weeks they weren't speaking. The rest of the band was in turmoil. Rivers in the Wasteland record is really about the band coming back together and the journey it took when they weren't getting along, and they really almost broke up, almost were no more. The original drummer, Joe Stillwell, left the band during all this time. And much of this record is just about how they reconciled. It gets kind of dark at some points. I remember one of the first singles they released was called The Heart, and it was super folky sounding, had lots of layers and great textures, produced very well. The Heart fit right in with the rest of their sound, but also showed the maturity and the growth. Brother, which was on this record, was really about the brothers reconciling and how, they never wanted to go through that again. And they did a couple versions of it. They did a version with Gavin DeGraw, which was really great. All the versions are great. It's a very great song. Absolutely love this song about brothers and family and how we should treat each other. Fantastic tune. You really can't help but be moved by this song, especially when you know the history. These brothers who grew up together, started this band together, toured the country and the world together, had this big falling out, and were not on speaking terms, and then they just reconciled and formed a bigger bond than before. Some other highlights would be the song Rivers in the Wasteland. Just great. One of my all-time favorites on this record was Be More Heart and Less Attack. This song is just unreal. If you sit there and listen to it, the way it just climaxes at the end, a solid song from writing to production, just great. State I'm In, Difference Maker, Oh Carolina, Feet Don't Fail Me Now, all fantastic songs. The record is just 100% killer. The record tells a story about this worn-out band who's just trying to make it through and survive with or without each other. So the thing about a Need to Breathe song for me is that a Need to Breathe song builds. What I mean by this is each song starts out unique. The music and lyrics build together, in such a way that there's this explosion towards the end of revelation and sound that it changes your mind and heart, or at least works on it. Almost every single song kind of does this to you. The way they build it is woven in fantastic production. It's really remarkable. So if you've never ever listened to Need to Breathe before, never heard any of these songs I'm talking about, here's where I'd suggest you start. My suggestion would be start at The Reckoning. Turn on the song Drive All Night, turn it up, see how it feels. Make sure you don't miss the title track, The Reckoning, and Devil's Been Talking. This record's got several other great songs as well. White Fences, Wanted Man. Just put all these tracks on, listen to how they have the electric guitars dialed in. Bo plays a lot of banjo, and I know that might turn some people off to the record, but the way it's blended in with these guitars and the whole sound of Need to Breathe, it's just perfect. From there, I would play through the record Rivers in the Wasteland from start to finish. You'll get a good picture of who Need to Breathe is, what they're capable of, and where they've come from and what they're all about. So if I had to pick one best song from Need to Breathe that would describe who they are, overall song that gives you the best idea, I would pick the song The Outsiders. I don't necessarily think this is truly their best song, but I think this particular song rounds them out and really explains to you who they are, what they're about, lyric content and sound wise. Really, if you're looking to know who they are and what they're about, this song really does the trick. I think it's probably no surprise if I had to pick a best record right now, it would be a toss-up between The Reckoning and Rivers in the Wasteland. If I really had to pick, I'd have to say it's Wasteland. This is such a journey of a record. It covers so much ground and it's well-rounded. For their most underrated song, I would have to say Be More Heart and Less Attack. This song nearly brings me to tears every time I hear it. Again, how I said each song has a journey. It is a journey. This song epitomizes that. It brings forth beautiful concepts on how to live, how to love, how to treat others, how to be a good human, and how to grow. And then it ends in this amazing crescendo of music and epiphany. You gotta listen to it for yourself. So I've learned that whenever I mention the name Need to Breathe to people, what they usually say is, oh, that Christian rock band, right? While Need to Breathe is a faith-based group, there's so much more than that. Oftentimes great music that's produced by faith-based artists can really be shrunken down and only limited to certain audiences. This is one of those artists that really should have received more recognition than they have gotten. So the record Hard Love was put out after Rivers in the Wasteland. It is fantastic in its own right. I really don't think there's a bad record in this band's catalog. Bear and Bo and Seth, who's the bassist, grew up together in South Carolina. Their first massive single was Washed by the Water, another great song. It deals with some issues around Bear and Bo's dad growing up as preacher's kids and issues that surrounded that. Bo is an artist. As I said before, he recently left the band. He does a lot of artwork. He's designed a lot of stuff for their covers, and really his main thing now is doing art and spending time with his family and stuff like that. Bear has a side band called Wilder Woods. It's named after his two sons. He has one record out with that band, and it's awesome. You've got to check that one out as well. So Josh is their keyboard player, Josh Lovelace, and he also has a side group. He does lots of kid songs and such. Really some cool stuff too. So Seth, the bass player, is an audio engineer. He and his wife also own and run several treehouse bed and breakfasts. If you want your mind blown, go look up on Instagram, Bolt Farm Treehouse. It's really cool. Need to Breathe also toured with Taylor Swift. Sometime around the Reckoning tour, they were one of her favorite bands at the time. Former drummer Joe Stillwell now plays in a band called Real Work. And again, what they're up to now is they've just released a new record called Out of Body. It's really, really great. I've been chewing on it and listening to it. It's been a great experience so far. As I said, this band does not have a bad record in their catalog. And as I said, Bo left, so Bo wrote a handful of songs for the new record. Looks like they recruited a guy named Tyler Burkham to play and record. After Bo left, Tyler's got a whole repertoire of music and bands he's played with. Definitely worth checking out. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please be sure to email me, comment your thoughts and recommendations. If you have any artists you think we should cover, send them in a message. And always keep discovering new music. Thanks, guys.